Hey guys, welcome to the Valuewala channel and thanks for joining me on this first video. Today, I thought I'd introduce myself and walk you through my investment screening process. A bit about myself. I've been a full-time investor for nearly 4 years now, and over the past 3 years, I've been sharing the research behind investments I've made on my website, valuewala.com. With this channel, I thought I'd share my investment screening process as well. A big part of my workflow involves Google Sheets, as you'll see. I've been building my own sheets bit by bit over the years and adding new features to them as and when I can. The system I've now built is pretty streamlined where everything is interconnected, so most of the information I need is just a click or two away at any given time. I use these sheets to screen every day, so I figure it'd be fun to share that process in real time. So beginning next week, I'll be doing live streams once or twice a week after market close. If you find this video useful, I really hope you'll join in on those streams as well. Now, before we dive in, a really quick disclaimer. It goes without saying that nothing I say here is meant to be taken as investment advice. I'm not a registered analyst. You won't find any stock tips or specific recommendations on this channel. Instead, you'll be seeing a stock screening process in action. My hope is that by exploring different niches and markets on this channel together, hopefully you pick up some ideas to do your own deeper research with. All right, so now with the boring stuff out of the way, let's jump right into the sheets. So as you can see, I've pulled up the first sheet over here. It's called the NSE. And it's called the NSE because initially the API that I used only had access for NSE data. Uh, but I found out that they also have BSE data as well. So I've added those stocks to the list. And now the stocks have ballooned to over 3,900, which is great because now there's a bigger pool to find interesting ideas from. But before we move on to the individual stocks, really quickly, this is the first tab that I check every single day after market close. It's called the Global tab. And here I've got price and day change data for a bunch of different markets and indices, both globally and domestically. And they're segregated by columns. So we've got debt, country, indices, sectors, commodities, and crypto. I never really check the crypto and debt columns, but that's data that I have access to. So it's on here. And who knows, maybe it comes in handy sometime in the future. But really, my focus is on the country, indices, and sectors columns. So the country is just listing the price and day change data for a bunch of international indices. So we've got stuff from the US, Europe, and Asia. We've got the Indian indices, the major ones, as you can see. And it's no surprise that the mid and small caps are beaten down again as well today, as they have been for the past 2 weeks. But yeah, my main focus really is this sectors column. This is the first thing that I look at every single day. The ones on the top are the Nifty sectoral indices. And this is the only one for which I have price change data ranging from a day all the way up to 3 years. So I can see how various sectors and niches have performed. The ones below, I actually got this list from Tijori. So Tijori has this really cool feature where they've created these niches and they have stocks under them and they've created their own indices. What I did was I took the list and I added all the stocks on my own sheet that I have to create my own indices and track their price changes by market cap. So this is market cap weighted price change. And yeah, like I said, this is the first thing that I check every single day to start to generate some ideas. And we'll see that in action in a bit. Uh, but yeah, before we move on really quick, one thing that's really cool is everything that you see in blue over here, they're quick links to the charts on TradingView. So just for example, I see that media has fallen nearly 3.6% today. So if I wanted to pull up the chart, it's right there for me. And there it is, which I think is cool. And another thing that I can do is for any given index, if I want to see how the constituents have their prices have changed, there's a tiny dot over here that I click and it takes me. So for example, the Dow Jones, I can just click right there and it shows me how the different constituents have changed for the day. I have this for every single index on here. But recently, what I did for the Indian indices and sectors is I've got them in the sheet itself, so I don't need to go to a different website. But it's still handy for these global indices. And yeah, then I've got commodities, which I don't really check, but sometimes I do just to see when I'm correlating it to different stocks. And lastly, I've got a market pulse. So, like I said, I have 3,950 odd stocks in the list. And so here it tells me how many of those stocks went up, how many went down, and how many crossed like a certain price threshold. So, for example, here it says that we have one stock that hit an upper circuit and two that hit a lower circuit. So we'll see which ones those are and why that happened, or we'll try to figure out why that happened. Right. So the next tab I have here is the economic calendar. This is from Zerodha, and it just lists all the different macroeconomic events that are taking place over the next week or so. And what I've done is I've just conditionally formatted the ones that are of high importance. So it grabs my attention. And once the data comes out, I can see which ones have increased and which ones have gone down. Again, it's conditionally formatted. This is also something I don't really check that often. I don't really pay that much attention to macro data, but I do check this once or twice a week. And again, it's a great resource to have. Um, right. So now we're onto the main sheet. This is called NSE. And here is the list of all the 3,900 odd stocks that I have. Let me just check how many there are. So yeah, there are 3,936 stocks. And for each ticker, I have information like the sector, the industry, market cap and price data, as well as some ratios. Um, and the beauty of this is everything can be filtered. So for example, if I wanted to check only the energy stocks on this list, just really quickly, I can click on here and that should show just the energy stocks that I have on this list. And you can mix and match a bunch of different filters. So say I wanted energy companies, but with a PE of less than 5. So I can go by filter by condition, and it's less than or equal to 5. I mean, this is not something I usually, I'm just giving an example. And okay, so there we go. So the 3,936 stocks I've got them down to 7. And that's one way that I can screen for different ideas. Let me just get out of this really quick. And right. And again, so now everything's listed by market cap. So the highest first, but I could screen by day change. So we saw earlier that there was one stock that hit an upper circuit and two that went down. So I could just go highest to lowest and we can find the stock that hit an upper circuit. Right. So McNally Bharat, 900. So I think this is a data error. So there wasn't one that hit 20%. But if I go on here, let's see. Okay. So credit access, Grameen, 12.12%. Now I might want to know why it went up so much. And this is where these quick links come in handy. So really quickly, the links are, it's all auto-populated. So it creates one for Screener, for TradingView for the chart. This is Google News. And lastly, I've got the website if I want to check the investor relations section. But say I go on Google News, it searches the ticker for me. And now I've, okay, so Bandhan Bank credit access stock surge because of RBI's, yeah. So I'm not going to read this right now, but as you can see, like I very quickly found out why a certain stock has gone up, and this comes in handy every once in a while. And we also had two stocks that hit the lower circuit. So let's see which one those were. There we go. Oh, so a stock with the 28,000 market cap fell down 20% today. So I wonder why. KAEI. So I can do the same thing. I can check the news. And here it's because Ultratech announced that they're entering the wires and cables division. So this might be an idea that I'd want to research further. Like, does Ultratech Cement entering a wires and cables space, does it warrant a 20% fall in a big company like KEI Industries? I'm not saying that that's what I'm thinking, but say that was my thought process, then I might want to filter that down and save that as an idea. So here, as you can see on the tracker list, right now I don't have KEI Industries. But this yellow section over here, if I just click over here, it should auto-populate that onto my tracker list. This isn't an accurate list of stocks that I'm tracking. It's just something that I've filled in for this video. But now I have it over here, so I've filtered it down, and I can search these, and I'll tell you why I have this tab later in a bit. But yeah, so this is my tracker tab. Similarly, I've got one for holdings, but I'm not going to show that. And actually, it doesn't matter. But these are the stocks that I'm holding. Um, and very quickly, and then now this is the investors tab. This is another important one for me. This is something I don't have to check it every day, but it's got so much data that I can if I wanted to. And here I've got a list of a bunch of different investors that I track and their holdings. So this list over here is not this. So Ashish Kacholia, for example, this is not the list of stocks that he currently owns, but it's all the stocks that he's bought in the last 12 months or he's owned over the last 12 months. Some of these he would have exited, but in the last 12 months, he was invested in each one of these stocks and more, but these are the ones I have data for. So this is really cool. So for example, I wanted to check, say, Vijay Kedia stocks. Click on here, and these are uh, Vijay Kedia stocks. So again, this is another way to screen for different ideas. And there's a lot more with each of these tabs, but I'm going to show that next. Just moving on. So now we've got the niche tab. So if you remember back on the global sheet, I had this list over here. And so for each one of these, that's where I can access the individual constituents on that tab. So over here, we have this microfinance. Again, I think this is the RBI policy. And so go on here, click on microfinance, and we can see how the individual constituents. So again, credit access was the biggest gainer over here and also the highest market cap. So that since this is a market cap weighted index that I've created, it's caused the biggest move for this niche. But I can do that for a bunch of different, so everything really quickly, like fertilizer stocks. Oh, I think the biggest one on here is chemicals. So this tracks 176 different stocks. And I forgot to mention, so for each one of these, even on the NSE sheet, if an investor holds a particular stock, it shows up over here. So Hitesh Javeri, for example, is invested or was invested in Century Enca sometime in the last 12 months. He might still be, but that shows up over here. And similarly, the sectors tab is for the Nifty. So right here, this section right here. And I can filter again. So we saw that media was down 2.6%, sorry, 3.6%. So I can see how the different constituents. PVR Inox was down 7%. So again, that's probably what caused the biggest move, but also a few of them were down 3% as well, Sun TV included. And again, the same data is on every sheet. So we've got price change data, 52-week high and lows, moving averages, investors if they invest in any of these stocks, and some quick ratios. I'm just running through these sheets because there's a lot more to talk about. And again, like I said, I've got them for the sectoral indices, Nifty and Sensex. And lastly, there's two more tabs. So mutual funds and ETFs, just ETFs actually. I don't know why it says mutual funds, but I'm not someone who invests in ETFs. But again, over here, I can track how different styles and how they have performed over a given period of time, especially like corporate bonds. I've noticed have been doing well of late. Last few days actually, 2 or 3 days, and you've got growth, ESG, so different investment styles that I can track. And yeah, so now remember in the investor tab, I said that these are stocks that the investor has held at some point in the last 12 months. Some of them they still hold, some of them they would have exited. If I wanted to check the quarter on quarter change of holdings, that's where this tab comes in handy. And so I've got a list of all these investors that I track. And so currently it's showing Purinju's stock holding, but say we'd seen Ashish Kacholia. So if I click on here, it'll show up his holdings, and this is the legend that I use. So if it's in this green color, it's a new position, which usually shows up at the bottom. So he entered Elia Commodities in the last quarter, and I can see how his holding has changed. So these are all the stocks that he's exited. But since, see, Aditya Vision, for example, he held it up until the June quarter of last year. And so I still have that on my list because it's something that he was invested in over the last 12 months. So I might want to know why he invested in that stock or why he exited. And so that's another way to screen for different ideas. This one's his biggest holding, and anything in green is just something that the investor has added to. So I could just, we saw Vijay Kedia as well. So just to show you how it works, it'll just load up, and sometimes it takes a while, but there we go. So that's it. Right. So these are the different tabs. So basically, I can screen based on news, like we did in the first, the NSE tab, or just for any reason, I might select something to put onto my tracker list. We can screen by an investor's holdings over a period of time. Uh, Based on these niches, there's a bunch of different stocks in each of these niches. So again, we can check over there, sectors and indices. And now, so now let's say the tracker sheet. Um, these are the stocks I'm tracking, but it's not enough to have just this information. I'd want to know their financial statements and everything. One option would be to go on Screener, but I've built a whole a different sheet for each one of these tabs. So each tab has its own separate sheet called Fundamentals, and if I click on it, they all look the same, but they all have. So this sheet only has information from the tracker tab. So if I go down to this drop down list, these are all the tracker stuff I'm tracking. See KEI just auto populated over there. So say KEI, since that's something that we added recently, I could click on it and everything should load up. Sometimes takes a minute, but while it's doing that, again, I've got quick links over here to Screener, TradingView, and the company website. 3 year Sparkline, not that it matters. Now I know something about the company, so it's in this about section. I think it's too small on the screen, so let me just, oh, that's too much. And now I can know more about the company. This is taken from Screener. I've got the um, holding data for like a period of time and how it's changed over a 3 month, 6 month, or 1 year period. So in this case, public has been buying the stock over the last 1 year, and the promoters have been selling, institutional investors have been selling. Oh, sorry, my bad. Domestic DIIs have been adding to it, and the public holding is reduced. But FIIs and promoters have sold their holding a bit, and all in the last 3 months. And this, just in this one view, I've got financial metrics like from the income statement, the balance sheet, and cash flow. No, income statement and balance sheet, and some few quick ratios, and it's all conditionally formatted, so it helps in viewing it. And finally, I've got an Altman Z-score tab over here to just see. So obviously, very financially stable company. But sometimes, like I think Hindware Home Innovation is something I'm tracking, and they're pretty close. I think up until yesterday, they were just above 1.8. And who knows, maybe they fell today. So yeah, 1.11. So I've got this note over here. So anything below 1.8 is a high risk of financial distress. This doesn't mean they are going to face financial distress, but another worrying thing is how much the score has changed in just 1 year. So once in a while, and if an individual investor, again, we probably have that on the NSE sheet as well, but it's on here as well, so I can see different investors who hold this particular stock. And then financial statements. So this probably doesn't have data for 2017 and before, but the income statement, the balance sheet, cash flow statement. I'm just running through this really quick. Key ratios, financial growth, dividend data. And then if I wanted to do a quick DCF, not that I do it every single time, but I could just add in. So here, oh, this is really cool. So the API that I use, Y Sheets, they sometimes provide analyst estimates for the next year. So in this case, 3 analysts projected next year's revenues, and so it's given me a low, high, and average. And so what I do is, for the base case, I take the average figure, and I just toggle it, the highs and lows for conservative and optimistic. And there's a switch over here, so I can decide whether I want it to be an optimistic case, base case, or a conservative case for each one of these metrics. And I'm not going to run through a DCF now, but this is again, and then a bunch of different valuation metrics and how this doesn't matter because obviously we haven't done any of any changes in the data, but uh, that's there. And just really quickly to run through, so I've got the same thing for holdings. For investors, obviously now, right now, it'll show me Vijay Kedia stocks because we're on here. No, there we go. Sometimes it takes a while to load all the data, but I think it's nice to have all of this in one sheet. And if I was to change the investor to Dolly Khanna, for example, once this turns red, I know that the list is updated. And now when I click on this, now these are Dolly Khanna's holdings. And again, everything else is the same. So I've got the income statement, the balance sheet, financial statements, key ratios, and the DCF tab. Um, and again, to just run the point home, the same thing is for the niche tab. So chemicals, there would be 170 different odd stocks, but could change it to banks, and now it'll be these that show up on the list. Um, so yeah, this is the sheet, and this is how I go through my screening process every day. Just looking at different stocks. Now, one thing you would have noticed is we went through filtering 3,900 odd stocks. We filtered by price. We found the highest winners today, the losers. We very quickly figured out the reason why a specific stock went up or down. So our credit access went up because of the RBI news. KEI Industries fell down because Ultratech Cement entered the wires and cables, and checked all different investor holdings and their financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, cash flows, a bunch of different ratios, could even do a DCF. And this entire time, I haven't used my keyboard even once. So this is the beauty of it. Like everything is just a click away, and it really speeds up research. And maybe I mean, it's probably pointless for yes gas, but like alcoholic beverages, I wanted to check Screener, for example. I could go to Soam Distilleries, get on here, and now maybe a list of stocks that aren't on this list right now, I could find over here. But again, I'm not having to type anything. It's all right here for me, and that's why I enjoy using these sheets and filtering through ideas. And that's the idea of the live streams that I'm going to do. And hopefully you'd like to join in on it. Um, I really hope you found these sheets interesting. And if you'd like to see the sheet in action, I'll be doing live stream starting next week. So I really hope to see you there. If you have any recommendations on new features that I could add to this sheet, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And yeah, once again, thanks for watching. And if you found this video helpful, do drop a like and share it with your friends. I'll see you next week. Bye.